In Genesis 5 we read that Adam lived 930 years, Seth lived 912 years, Enosh lived 905 years, etc. If you go through Genesis 5, you can read how people live to be nearly 1,000 years as it eventually declines to 500, to 200, and then 100. There are also legends mentioned in many cultures of a golden age where people lived to be nearly 1,000 years, where there was no war, a constant abundance of food for which nobody had to work. So how did the people in Genesis live so long? There are many theories put forward by biblical scholars. Some theorize that the genealogy in Genesis 5 records the line of the godly descendants of Seth, the line that would eventually produce the Messiah. It is said that God possibly blessed this line with especially long life as a result of their godliness and obedience. While this is a possible explanation, the Bible nowhere specifically limits the long lifespans to the individuals mentioned in Genesis chapter 5. Further, other than Enoch, the Bible does not identify any of the individuals as being especially godly. It is likely that everyone during that time lived several hundred years. Several factors may have contributed to this. Something happened at the global flood to shorten men's lifespans, compared to the lifespans before the flood with those after the flood. Immediately after the flood, the ages decreased dramatically and then kept decreasing. A key may be in Genesis 6 verses 3. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. Many people see the reference to 120 years as the new divinely appointed limit of man's age. By the time of Moses, who lived 120 years, lifespans were much lower. After Moses, we have no record of anyone living past 120. One theory for why the people of Genesis lived such long lives is based on the idea that a canopy of water or ice used to surround the earth. Jewish historians spoke about this canopy over the earth, like Josephus. According to the canopy theory, the water above the firmament created a greenhouse effect and blocked much of the radiation that now heats the earth, resulting in ideal living conditions. At the time of the flood, the water canopy was poured out onto the earth in Genesis 7 verses 11, ending the ideal environment. However, the canopy theory has been abandoned by many creationists today. Another consideration is that in the first few generations after creation, the human genetic code had developed few defects. Adam and Eve were created perfect. They were surely highly resistant to disease and illness. Their descendants would have inherited these advantages, but to a lesser degree. Over time, as a result of sin, the human genetic code became increasingly corrupted, and human beings became more and more susceptible to death and disease. This would also have resulted in drastically reduced lifespans. So the world was very different at that time, and often people make the mistake of looking at the world today and assume that's how it was at the beginning of creation. The world drastically changed after the worldwide flood, and sin and disease entered the earth. Remember, when God finished the creation, everything was perfect, and the good news is one day God will create a new heavens and a new earth that will be perfect, where we will live forever if you are saved through Jesus Christ. If you are not, then ask God to save you today. It's free. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Thanks for watching, guys, and may you all have a blessed day.